Welcome to another edition of What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely. Lots happening on this week's program. The Simcoe Muskoka District Health Unit has filled its food basket with nutritious items, and to no one's surprise, it costs more than a lot of people can afford. We dig into the issue and offer suggestions toward finding solutions. The Barrie Public Library is thriving post-pandemic. Thousands of new members signing up last year, and why not? There's more happening there than you may realize. The Barrie Colts looking a little different as they course through the second half of the season. A few deals made at the trade deadline. The playoffs not out of reach, but not guaranteed. Barrie Transit is getting another makeover with a promise of more timely service from one end of the city to another. And Locallicious is back, a chance for you to try the best cuisine Barrie has to offer. We get the conversation started after this. Inflation inched back up in December after a slight decline in November. Not easy for many to fill a shopping cart with nutritious food items. Vanessa Hurley, lead dietitian with the Simcoe Muskoka District Health Unit, joins us. Give us a rundown from your 2023 Nutritious Food Basket Survey.
This year, our household food insecurity stats show that 1 in 5 households just cannot afford food in general, let alone a nutritious diet, but food in general. So this is an increase in food insecurity that we're seeing in our region, and it's the same across Ontario and in Canada as well. And in Canada, we've had the highest number of household food insecurity stats in the history of 17 years of monitoring. So it is a real concern. And there are many things that we can do about it. The government certainly has a big role to play. All levels of government have a role to play in reducing our household food insecurity stats. We know that effective solutions to reduce household food insecurity and increase access to secure, adequate food is more income. And so we at the health unit level and our Board of Health really encourage the government to step in and provide more income-based solutions to our residents and those across the province and Canada as well.
What is an income-based solution? Outline that for us.
Yeah, certainly. So an income-based solution is an evidence-based solution that will, in the end, put more income in the pockets of individuals and families in our region. And they can range. There's so many options, but the ones that you hear about mostly in the media and by the experts in this field are increased social assistance rates indexed to inflation. We see household food insecurity rates are really high for those on social assistance. Their cost of rent and food combined exceeds 100% in some cases when we're looking at individuals, like over 160%. And those families of 4 on Ontario Works, it's over 90% of their income goes to food and rent. So increasing social assistance rates is something that there's a big push for as well. You've probably heard a lot in the past about a guaranteed basic income. That has been shown to be an effective solution as well. But certainly providing livable wages with regular hours and benefits so that people can afford to live. So go to work and not have to work multiple jobs or a lot of hours. So livable wages and benefits is another example of an effective solution.
How realistic is that? And I'm playing devil's advocate here.
Certainly there's a lot of evidence to show that those are effective, and we've had some examples of that throughout Canada, through a pilot, and some other provinces on the East Coast are currently trying this out as well. So we'll probably get some good information about that to know. But yeah, certainly as the cost of living increases, it is harder for everyone. So one of the things that a major report released this year showed was that the increase in food insecurity in Canada, a lot of it was attributable to those in Ontario with mortgages. So it is impacting everyone. So even those that are working, almost 50% of those that are going to work every day are food insecure. And those on social assistance, of course, they definitely have those higher numbers because it's just not enough. Rent is high, food costs are high, and people just don't have enough money to buy food.
And while some of us are in a position we could make adjustments to our lifestyle to accommodate that, not everybody can, and that seems to be a majority now, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. So the rates of household food insecurity, as I mentioned, are affecting everybody. It's certainly the highest among those living alone or those with young children, a lone parent with families, and those with mortgages. So it is affecting everybody. And in the end, we all pay the cost because it is a major public health concern. And those that are food insecure also have higher healthcare spending. So it impacts the community as a whole and our healthcare system as well.
What goes into that basket of food that you put together that is costing a family of four $1,225 a month and a single person $445 a month for a nutritious, balanced mealtime?
Yes, so that nutritious food basket is based on Health Canada's National Food Basket, and it's 61 food items that are based on National Healthy Eating Recommendations and Canada's Food Guide. So those are really just 61 basic food items. There's nothing fancy in there. It doesn't consider like cultural foods. It doesn't include personal items or cleaning supplies, coffee, all those extras. So they're really just 61 basic food items that we use as a benchmark. So although we say that it could cost a family of four this, most likely it's much higher when you factor in all those extra costs of your grocery bill.
And do you find, because these are nutritious foods, this is the Canada Food Guide, but do you find that a lot of people stray away from that, trying to make ends meet, and they're buying less expensive junk food type things?
Yeah, so what we hear is that, and what we see is that those that do buy those highly processed foods, they find that it may fill them up longer because they're high in fat and they sustain them a bit longer. However, they're highly processed, so that comes with lack of nutrition, high sodium, high sugar, and high fat as well. So yes, certainly, like if you could go to your nearest dollar store and get a lot of highly processed foods, not necessarily nutritious ones, and certainly people have to do what they need to do. Household food insecurity can range from skipping meals to reducing your quality of food intake as well. Essentially, household food insecurity can range from, going without food and going hungry, that's the extreme, to reducing the quantity and quality of the foods you choose as well.
Do you have more people coming in and contacting the health unit saying, here's my diet now, how can I make it better? How can I afford all of this, and looking for advice?
What we have seen at the health unit is really concerns from our schools who are noticing an increase in kids that are going to school hungry. And, when we look at the stats from the latest report about household food insecurity in Canada and Ontario, 1 in 4 children are going to school hungry. So that's a concerning statistic, and so that is where we are hearing the most concern is kids are going to school hungry. What can we do about that? Certainly, we know that food bank usage visits have gone up considerably, almost 40% in the past year, probably more since we last measured, and what we're hearing is food banks in our area just can't keep up. And we know that food banks, while they are necessary in those emergency types of situations, they're not the solution to reducing rates in our region or in our country for that matter.
What are the roadblocks to getting the different levels of government here jumping on board with some of these programs to help people in these situations? You talked about pilot programs and things happening down east. What's happening in Ontario, and why aren't some things happening?
I really think it is the political climate. It really depends on who's in position at that time and what their priorities are. Certainly, there is so much advocacy for those effective solutions that I mentioned through a number of different organizations, public health included, related to social assistance rates and basic income. And it really depends on the priorities of the federal and provincial government. So that's why we really need to continue to advocate, continue to speak out so that they can hear from all of us, individuals and organizations, that we need to do something about this because we can't afford not to. And everybody in our country, province, and our communities deserve to have a nutritious diet. So we need to continue to speak out, and everyone has a role to play. And it just takes that voice, even when you go and vote.
Apart from that voice, what can the rest of us who are doing okay be doing to help out?
Again, I think it is really just learning more about the issue, sharing your learning with others, your colleagues, friends, and families. Certainly when you go and vote, that can be a very powerful way to express your concern, as well as writing a letter to your local politician, your MP or your MPP as well. So certainly advocacy through letters do work, and they do receive those.
Big hill to climb, but we're going to get there. Vanessa, thank you so much for coming in. Thanks for the work you're doing, and keep us posted.
And thanks so much for having me.
If you'd like more information or are looking for help with nutritious meal planning, the Health Unit's website can be found at smdhu.org. Sounds like getting around town is going to get easier in Barrie. The city has been looking at ways to make Barrie Transit more efficient. Brent Forsyth, Director of Transit for the City of Barrie, lays out the plan for you and Barrie 360's Ian McLennan.
Brett, we have to go back to mid-June 2023. City Council approved the implementation of a new transit network for Barrie, 2 phases starting actually this year. Tell us, if you could, what is this new transit network that riders will eventually experience?
Yeah, the new network was really a catalyst of the previous direction from council to relocate our terminal, our main terminal hub from downtown to adjacent to the Allendale GO station. And so when they gave direction to start planning for that, they also gave us direction to kind of look at the network and see where improvements can be made and stuff. And kind of a lot has changed in recent years, and what has allowed us to kind of look at things a little differently, especially with technology. There's new technology and service within transit, which, some call it microtransit. We call it transit on demand. And it allows you to, create a system that is extremely efficient in terms of ridership. So, the historic dilemma in transit is always managing frequency with coverage, because we want to make sure we can get transit through the entire city, but there's certain parts of the city, just based on whether it's geography or infrastructure or what have you, that is sometimes difficult to get transit into. And so the emergence of this transit on demand has allowed us to kind of allocate our resources and become a more efficient service, providing quicker, frequent, and more reliable service. So that's really kind of the gist of the change. And so when you look at the new vision, the new network, you'll see transit on demand zones. And transit on demand is basically a service where you book through an app from stop to stop, and what it does is either connects you to major hubs to get on the traditional fixed route, or connects you to major destination points, whether it's grocery stores or rec centers and things like that. And when you look at our system, the transit on demand zone account for about 6% of our overall ridership, and so being able to kind of use that efficiency with that technology and that service model allows us to actually put on, for example, our express route, which we're really excited about, which takes you from Park Place to the north end, and reduces travel time significantly, or increasing our frequent transit networks kind of up and down Yonge Street and Bayfield and around by the hospital and the college to 15-minute frequencies, which in the past it was always 30-minute frequencies. So I guess in a nutshell, that's kind of the benefit, of the new system and what we're planning to move towards.
Yeah, and you talk about express service. There's a bus route that would run right along Highway 400?
That's correct. Yeah, it's going to start at Park Place, and then it's going to run up and down 400. It's going to stop, but it's going to come off. It's going to get on at Essa Road, and then it's going to get off at Bayfield. and then it's going to get off at Duckworth and connect to the college in RVH. And so what that really does is a city like ours where it has this giant body of water that kind of cuts the city in half, as well as the 400. We're using the infrastructure that's always been there to help speed up those trips. So somebody's coming from the south end who, is kind of going around the bay through the city and then needs to get to RVH because that's where they work or, whatever, can take them quite a bit of time. So with the express route now, that time is cut in half. When you look at, everybody's trips, are different, but cross-city trips will reduce by approximately 13% across the city with the new network.
And when you were doing consultation or just from, your own research or hearing from the front line, the bus operators, what were some of the issues with the transit system that you hope to improve upon? As you touched on some of them as moving forward.
So some of it is just making sure we continue with coverage, because our old system had really good coverage, and our new system has actually the same coverage and then some. So we're actually adding coverage under the new system to areas like the Benson subdivision, so the subdivision up behind the landfill, and then a couple other areas too in the city where you couldn't actually get couldn't get a full-size bus into based on the infrastructure, the road network or whatever. And so the on-demand service is provided through a smaller bus that allows you to kind of navigate some of those areas. So that's what we heard is, everybody wants it quicker and more frequent. And so again, just by having that technology and that ability under the on-demand, it's allowed us to become more efficient in all those other areas. Yeah.
So 2 phases starting in this year. What is the rollout for 2024?
So we're going to be coming to council shortly with a memo that'll provide a bit more details in terms of timing and stuff, and we're just actually sorting that out now. It will be likely this summer. Now, one of the transitional opportunities that we see is that, the transit on demand model is going to be different for some individuals. And so what we've done, or council has approved, is we're actually going to overlap the transit on demand service. So in an area where it used to have fixed route, for example, we're going to overlap transit on demand service for about a month and offer that free to those riders so they can try the service, get used to it, get comfortable with it before the fixed route is removed. This isn't something that we've done in the past when we've transitioned. Typically when we transition, we make the change and from one day to the next, and we're really hoping that this is, a benefit to the customer and a benefit to them to be able to change their travel patterns and behaviors a little bit to support the new system.
And then 2025 is the full rollout then?
That's correct. 2025 is the full rollout, and it's kind of the same idea, is that in 2025, we would kind of overlay that for the month again in those areas. And the reason why we're phasing it over 2 years is kind of twofold, but essentially it is for the customer in terms of being able to properly support each of the areas as we make these changes, all of our ridership and ensuring that we have the resources to support them through the changes.
And there's been a lot. This is a big change for Barrie Transit. You're just recovering, I guess, still from the pandemic. Has the ridership returned to a certain level?
Yes, it has actually. It's returned and then some. So over the course of 2023, we're at about 110 to 115% of our pre-COVID ridership. So we've actually 2023 was the first year that we were back to pre-COVID levels. We're seeing the ridership grow. And one of the other benefits of the new system, too, is that it gives us flexibility to allow us to react to, some of those areas that may be growing, the ridership may be growing and stuff. And it's built in a way, too, that as the ridership continues to grow, if you need additional bus on certain routes and whatnot, it's easier to kind of implement those additional buses. It comes at a cost, but, as the ridership grows and we need them, that's, we'll bring those forward.
I mean, and finally, Brent, we've seen a lot with the GTA and everybody's talking transit, tinkering with it. Was this necessitated too by just Barrie's population growth and the move from maybe not driving as much and using public transit if it's efficient?
Yeah, absolutely, it is. In fact, one of the items we presented to council as part of this year's budget is growth into the areas of Salem and Hewitt that are currently being built, and trying to get in there early enough before the houses are built and people have already bought that second car to encourage our to use our system. And that's actually another benefit of transit on demand is as those subdivisions are being developed, the infrastructure isn't always there to support a traditional fixed route service. So we're going to be servicing those areas with transit on demand and supporting those residents by linking them with our transit network. And then as the subdivisions mature and are built out and whatnot, and the ridership deems required, then some of those routes may get converted to fixed routes over multiple years or whatever. So it's definitely being built with that in mind too, the growth of the city.
The Barrie Colts still in the playoff hunt after making a few trade deadline deals. Not been an easy year for the club, especially on the road. Our Will Conkin takes a look at the recent changes, and here's how they may impact the team from Colts writer and broadcaster Gene Pereira.
New year, new roster, and now add new captain to the list. Bo Jelsma was given the C ahead of their 4-3 loss to the Brantford Bulldogs on Saturday. Gene, he said it means the world to him. Maybe touch on that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they could have picked a better guy to wear the C and be the captain of this hockey club. Bo Jelsma, right from day one, I mean, he's just a heart and soul guy. I don't think anybody works harder. I don't think anybody cares more and takes losses, as hard as he does. He's just a competitor. I mean, through and through. And, he's a leader, and, he'll do, you've seen him in the past, whatever role it is that they want him to play, whoever it is they want him to play with. Bo Jelsma does that, and he's just one of those guys, and it's really nice to see him rewarded for that. I mean, obviously, wearing captaincy, puts kind of focus on you, and for a young team now, to have Bo as a leader, this guy just sets a great example. Be it in practice or be it in games, he just works his butt off, and if you want the team looking up to one guy, he's the guy that you want them looking up to.
So, Gene, earlier I mentioned the new look roster, but what's going on with Brendan Sarazotti and the deal acquiring him for Jacob Frasca? Sarazotti isn't coming to the Colts and decided to go to school instead. Break down that situation. What's going on?
Yeah, it was the first trade that Barrie made at the deadline in dealing Jacob Frasca for some picks, and back they got Brendan Sarazotti, who was an extra, going to be the extra overage, and the Sioux sent him to Barrie, and he would have been a good addition, a scorer, a guy who could provide points, play top 6 minutes, and also on the power play. So he certainly would have got some points here. But Brendan just decided that he was going to go to school and kind of go on that path and not report to the Barrie Colts. And I guess talking to Marty Williamson, he insinuated that the Sioux Greyhounds knew beforehand that Sarazotti wasn't going to report, and they still made the trade. So I think it's something that the league is going to have to look at one point and kind of assess the trade. I mean, it's not going to get reversed at this point, but whether there's some kind of other type of compensation, a draft pick, or so on, if they determine that the Sioux, dealt a player that they knew wasn't going to report and kept that quiet, then I think there's something they have to look at. But from a standpoint of Brendan Sarazotti, I remember Dave Chant some years ago. A similar situation, came over from the Branson Battalion in the so-called dump deal where the battalion were going for it. They got Brian Finley and Tyler Hancock, and David Chant said he was just completely thinking about as well not reporting and going to school, and he ended up staying in Barrie and played an over each year, and they went to the championship, and he said it was the best year of hockey he had. So, it's a decision that he thinks, to this day that, he's really glad that he stayed. And I think Brendan, could have been a key part of a young club here, drive to the playoffs. And, look, if you want to showcase your talent, there's a ton of scouts and stands in OHL ranks, and it's the place to do it.
There you go. So overall, though, what do you make of the different look Colts?
Well, it's certainly a young team, and I think they're going to go through some struggles. I think scoring is going to be probably one of their bigger issues. They just having that elite score, and you move Chalet, and Frasca was a big part of that offense as well. But what it means is it means opportunity. It means opportunity for other guys to step up, be it getting an opportunity on the power play or getting more ice time, and so you'll see, I think, young guys. I mean, Riley Patterson has really taken another step in his game. Obviously, Cole Baldwin's been fantastic, and Bo Gelsma. But, for guys like Ty York, an opportunity more, he's been great on that line with Patterson and Baldwin. But, for young guys, Bodie Stewart, I still think there's a lot more in his game to see. And you got Kyle Morey coming over from Kitchener, who's going to get more ice time, and that's what it means. It's opportunity, and here's your chance to kind of show your coach that next year you can be a big part of the hockey club and play important minutes, and that's what it does. Is you find out what you got on the roster.
Looking at the playoff picture, the Colts sit just outside, and you've mentioned before they've had to play better on the road. On the year, they're 3-14. Maybe touch on that as well.
Yeah, it's been a real tough go on the road. I mean, last week, the loss in Niagara wasn't great. I thought they were kind of vanilla in that game, and there's such night and day from home. I mean, Saturday's game against Brantford, they lose 4-3, but they were really good in that game, but away they just don't seem to have the same life, the same jump, and they haven't won a game since November 10th on the road, that one back in Mississauga. So, if this team wants to make the playoffs, they're in a battle with Peterborough, and now Niagara's kind of crept into the picture as well for that last eighth and last playoff spot in the East. They're gonna have to win, get some points here on the road, and they're just gonna have to find a way. And I think it's talking to Marty Williamson, there's been a bit of frustration. He had mentioned, look, it's a young club, and you don't have the last line change, and so he can't get the matchups he wants a bit as much on the road as he does at home. But still, these young guys are going to have to figure it out here, and I think it's pretty clear to me that if they're to sneak into that final playoff spot and get some playoff experience, they're going to have to start getting some points on the road.
Well, the Colts, they host the Wolves tonight, Ice Dogs on Saturday, and hopefully they can switch the road woes around when they head to Sudbury on Sunday. Pleasure as always, Gene.
Thanks, Phil.
What Barrie's Talking About is a weekly podcast featuring the best Barrie and Simcoe County have to offer and more. You can get caught up and make it easy to keep up in the future by subscribing to What Barrie's Talking About through any podcast distributor. Still to come on What Barrie's Talking About, thousands more turning pages and more at the Barrie Public Library last year, and Locallicious is back to whet your appetite. Now this.
It's cool to care.
It's a well-known fact blood transfusion saves lives. It's also a well-known fact that the world relies on voluntary unpaid donations to fill the need for blood. The need for blood never ends. Canadian Blood Services in Barrie is calling on you to help save a life. Please consider donating today. Appointments are mandatory and must be booked in advance. Book today at blood.ca through the Give Blood app or by calling 1-888-2-DONATE.
Cool to Care is brought to you by the Peggy Hill team, keeping it real all the way to sold. Reach out now at peggyhill.com.
It's cool to care with 107.5 Cool FM.
This is What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely. It's back, Locallicious, a chance to indulge in the best Barrie restaurants have to offer at special rates. Randy Feltus and Peggy Hill set the table for Barrie 360's MJ.
All right, so this is really exciting. We got Locallicious coming up. It's a really good event. People might not be familiar, but it's a chance to really get to know the restaurants in the area by sampling a little bit of everything. How does this work exactly?
So it's really quite simple. We have a bunch of restaurants on board. They're doing a preset menu for a set price. So 3 courses for either $25, $35, or $40.
Okay, perfect. And how do people sort of get involved in this? Do they choose the restaurant? Do they go to one particular venue? How does this work?
They can go to the website, locallicious.ca. All the restaurants participating are there, and then they call the restaurants independently and make a reservation.
That's amazing.
Or you can normally click online to make a reservation.
And for that price, you can try more than one. It's amazing.
Yeah, for sure. How many restaurants do we have participating this year?
I think there's over 30.
That's really good. How's the turnout like previously? Because this isn't the first time, because this is always really a great event for
We
people.
are actually in year 13 and we started with 16 restaurants. We blew it up before COVID up to 50 restaurants, and we were doing surrounding areas as well, but now we've homed it back into Barrie.
Is there any restaurants that say, like, as soon as you tell them that you're putting this on, they say no questions asked, we're going to be part of this, because they've always been part of it?
Every single restaurant, yeah.
Nice. So you don't really have anybody that pulls back often.
Once in a while, you'll have restaurateurs go on vacation, and so the restaurant's not open, so then they're not involved. And obviously, the dates have changed a little bit because of COVID, and since we've changed that. But for the most part, the restaurants are really happy to be a part of it.
Now, what I love about this is that we always have, like, Barrie's an ever-growing city. We always have new people coming into the city, and they may not know about, like, the great, we're a kind of culinary town. And people may not know that right away.
Very much so. We have a lot of great restaurants and a lot of mom and pop shops that this is what we're doing. We're supporting local and stay out of the box stores. Eat local.
So how long is this going on for?
So we are from January 19th to February 4th, Peggy.
Yeah, he got it. That's right. And we're very excited.
That is a really long time. And I'll just tell you, the first time I did it was actually during COVID times when I participated. And I didn't really know this much about it. And the first time was, I think, in 2021 when it kind of, 2020, 2021, around that time that was a blur. Yeah. And I discovered so many new places, and I had been in Barrie for 10 years, so yeah.
It's really cool to get out there and actually eat real food. The chefs try extra hard to make the new customers feel more than welcome, so they'll come back, obviously. And, you're supporting local, you're eating real food, and we don't let the big box stores into this, so get out there.
You're going to be hard-pressed to find a better meal for what they're charging, so get out there and try a few.
This is what Barrie's talking about. From Barrie 360, I'm Dan Blakely, joined by Lauren Jessup, the CEO from the Barrie Public Library. The library wasn't immune to the pitfalls of the pandemic, took a big hit, but you've battled back well by the looks of this annual report.
Yeah, absolutely. We're very pleased to see most of our, we're kind of benchmarking 2019 as, our last sort of normal year. And I would say most of our metrics are surpassing that number, which is amazing to see.
Nearly 13,000 new members last year.
Absolutely, yeah, 12,473
it says here,
Yeah.
And how many of those arms did you have to really twist, or did they just come back willingly?
The staff worked really hard throughout the year. We did originally sort of set together a target of 10,000. That was what we were hoping to achieve in the year. And it's just one of those things when you are really making a concerted effort to do it. It's like every interaction they had with anyone inside the library, outside the library, they would say, hey, do you have a library card? Right? And it's just that little reminder made a really big difference. And I don't think they had to twist arms. It's a free membership, right? So people are more than willing to, once they hear, what the library has to offer now, different than maybe what they remember from the last time they had a library card, they were more than willing to sign up for a new one.
Well, that's the thing. I remember my library card when I was a kid got me a book or a chance to look at an encyclopedia or read a newspaper from someplace else. There's a lot more to the library now.
Absolutely. I mean, I could go on probably longer than we have.
Well, start anyway. If I have to cut you off, okay. I will.
I think the biggest thing that maybe people wouldn't be aware of is the Library of Things. So lots of libraries are starting to do this now, and really just bringing in items that people can borrow that maybe you don't have storage for at home, you don't want to spend your money on something like that, you just want to try something out. So it's a really good way for people to try something new, so like snowshoes, a telescope. We've got all kinds of things in the library to support people who are experiencing dementia or have any sort of other accessibility needs. There's a reader pen, so you scan it over the text and it reads it out loud to you. Just different things, musical instruments, all this stuff that you wouldn't necessarily want to purchase on your own, but as a shared resource, it makes a lot of sense.
Snowshoes sound pretty good these days.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny when early on in the winter, maybe not so much, but I think now we're getting into that point where the snowshoes are probably getting to be a hot item to borrow.
Not only things you can borrow from the library, but you have a section now, too, with all kinds of neat gadgets that can help you be very, very productive.
Yeah, for sure. So at all our locations, we do have some creative spaces items. The largest space is downtown. So there's a laser cutter, there's crickets, there's a sewing machine. We've got different things with the Cricut, so you can make a mug and a water bottle and all this different stuff. The Glowforge, the laser cutter, is probably our newest item that's available, and it engraves on wood, it cuts wood. It's very cool. And people can come in and use those items. We do ask that people, if you've never used it before, you might want to book a time with a staff member to kind of walk you through what you need to do, and then they set you on your way. And so that's a really good way to get exposure to those kinds of items that you may not want to have on your own in your own house.
And all you need is a membership card.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's easy to get.
Totally.
Just walk in and say, I want to be a member.
Yeah, for sure. You just come in and you show us where you live, and we'll give you a library card. And a library card in Barrie is free for anybody who lives, works, or studies in Barrie.
We talk about it all the time amongst ourselves here in terms of research, and everybody relies on Google these days and the internet, and there's so much misinformation there.
Staff are skilled in teaching people how to spot misinformation. So you can, if you're not sure that what you're reading is accurate, come in and talk to us, and we'll help you direct you to those sources that are going to give you that most accurate answer.
The other thing, too, is a lot of different programs, children's programs. People can come in and learn about different things. Run down some of those for us.
We were really busy over the Christmas break with children's programming. It was packed in there. The theme for the break was sort of knights and medieval times sort of thing. So all of the programs sort of centered around on that. I was in one day, and they had some local people coming in, and they had swords, and they were teaching the kids how to, what the different swords were for and all that kind of stuff. We're most looking forward next to March break, so that'll be our next busiest program time. But of course, there's programs running all the time. So throughout the week, we have story time programs for all ages, and then into the evening, there are things for adults to come in and enjoy. So something for everyone, and you can check out our website. It's all on there on the calendar, so you can take a look and register or drop in for different things.
And I bet you've got people working very hard right now on a certain boat festival that comes up in the summertime.
Yeah, we do. So the Barrie Dragon Boat Festival, even when the bay is iced over, although not yet.
Not yet. You can go out there now on a dragon boat.
I suppose you could. Even when it's winter, we are working on the Dragon Boat Festival. So this year is our 20th anniversary, so that's very exciting. I think this is set to be the best festival yet, because it's a real milestone for us.
20th anniversary for that. You celebrated the first anniversary of the Branch and Holly?
So we did celebrate the first anniversary of the Branch and Holly in the summer. So this was our first full year of operating that location. It's been amazing. So really, the community in Holly, I think they all feel that that library is like their community living room now. So they come in, and very popular with children's programs in that space. But, we see lots of older adults. There's a small group that they come in and they play mahjong together.
Wow.
And, maybe they wouldn't have met each other otherwise if they didn't have that space. So it's really special.
Couple of neat things. When I was a kid, it was the bookmobile that came to the plaza parking lot every couple of weeks. But you've got a vending machine, and also, is it a tricycle or something that runs around in the summer?
Yeah. So the e-trike is brand new. So this was our first summer running the e-trike. We did get a tricycle just for extra stability with the wagon behind, and it is an e-bike, so it does give the staff a little bit of a boost pedaling. We thought that was important, getting from downtown down the hill to the beach and back.
Getting back up the
right,
hill.
Getting back up. It's been very popular. So we've taken it down to the beach and in our parks. And I think it's really been a key element of the membership drive is that visibility of having, our branding and that visible library out in the community. And the kiosks, there's one at East Bayfield and one at Allendale. And you just need your library card and you scan it and the door opens. You select the items that you want, close the door again, and they're checked out on your card. So it's great for busy families who are using the rec centers and may not have time to visit a branch. Or remember, too, you can return stuff to the kiosks. So if you have your items with you from a branch, you can drop them into the kiosk and then they stay there.
You set a goal of 10,000 new members last year and you exceeded that. Yeah. What's your goal this year?
The goal this year is really just to keep the momentum of what we've been doing, but also to keep the members that we got last year engaged. One thing that we don't want to have happen is somebody has a library card and it sits in the wallet, right? So want to make sure that people who got a library card last year are coming in and they're using it. So just building that awareness of the things that we have to offer and making sure that we're always pushing those things to people.
All right. I'll be down to make sure you get at least one new member this year.
Perfect. Yes, please do. Please do.
It's the latest, it's the greatest, it's the library, is what they said when I was a kid. Lauren, thanks so much for coming in. Thanks for all the great work you're doing at the Barrie Public Library.
Thanks so much for having me.
And that's our program for this week. Thanks to Ian, MJ, and Will for their input, to Matt Latter for his technical tweaks, and to you for listening. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe to What Barrie's Talking About, rate it, review it. You can also keep up with What Barrie's Talking About on X at Barrie360, on our website, Barrie360.com, and there's our daily Kickstart podcast available from any streaming service and on our website. I'm Dan Blakely. Hope you'll join us again next week.